You should not have any maintenance fees. Believe it or not all banks are FDIC insured. My wife and I have had a high yield savings account for at least a year and a half. But it still baffles me that a lot of people don't know about high yield savings accounts. So in this video, you will know insight based on my experience with high yield savings accounts. We're gonna go over the pros, cons of a high yield savings account. We're gonna ask questions on what to consider when looking for a high yield savings account. And is it a good time to open a high yield savings account now? And of course, whether or not this is for you and your specific goals. Now, when it comes to my experience, my wife and I decided to get a high yield savings account after we paid off $215,000 of debt. That was not easy feat. It took a lot of discipline, focus, consistency. But at the end of that runway, it was now time to build an emergency fund because we wanted to start growing our family. As you can see, a little one there. And also we wanted to save for a house and start looking more into the future, what we were gonna work towards, set new financial goals. We looked into a couple of options. Our credit union offer crappy rates, brick and mortar, great institution, but when it comes to savings, they don't pay you that much interest. Also, we looked at the stock market, or we looked at mutual funds, and we started thinking, is this really a good option? But after doing a lot of research, we realized that the level of risk we were willing to take, we were not quite there yet. We were not ready for the stock market. And for an emergency fund, we were going to need our money in less than 5 years because of the purposes of that we were saving. Because of all those reasons, we decided, okay, a high yield savings account, then it's going to be the best option for us. So let's now go into the pros and cons of high yield savings accounts. And we're going to take some time here to digest what each of these mean. Now, when it comes to the pros, let's start with the pros. Higher interest, more money. There's plenty of online savings accounts, high yield savings accounts that offer up to 10x the average of brick and mortar stores. The average right now is about 0.42%. And when you look at high yield online savings accounts, they're offering 4.5, 5, 5.5. Just tells you the difference there is between high yield online savings accounts and brick and mortar savings accounts. Also, there's no risk up to $250,000, and because your money or the institution where you park your money should be insured by the FDIC if it's a commercial bank, or the NCUA, the National Credit Union Association, if it's a credit union. And they both of these organizations essentially insure your money up to $250,000. Now, there's a whole different set of details when it comes to playing around with insurance, and if you have multiple signers or co-applicants or co-owners in a certain account, you could double the amount of money that you are insured for. So that's a whole different video. So if you want me to make a video about that, let me know in the comments. And if it gets enough support, then I'll decide to make a video about that. Another good feature of a high yield savings account is the fact that it has flexible access. Now, what does this mean exactly? You can put your money in easily. You can take your money out very easily. Yes, it may be same day transfer, or it may be 1 day, 2 days, but you can get it very easily. This is very different. For instance, if you put your money into a certificate of deposit, a CD, which has a fixed term, or you pay a penalty. So when you put your money in a CD, you can put it there for 6 months, a year, 5 years, however long it is, and you can't touch that money. You can't just access it easily. And needless to say also that with the stock market, and especially if it goes up and down, you definitely don't want to put your money when the market is down, right? So you want to put money in. That's where you want to put money in. Also, the minimum deposit and no maintenance fees. So this is not for every institution out there, not for all online savings accounts, but it's definitely something that you need to look for. The cost of having the savings account should definitely be less than what you are getting. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. Now, last but not least, of course, a high yield savings account, another pro, is that it gives you inflation protection. Now, of course, this is going to depend on how high inflation is. The last report I saw is 3%. If inflation were 5%, and you're getting 5% return on your savings account, then you're pretty much breaking even. You're just keeping up with the purchasing power of your money. But now you are making even more money as inflation is lower. All right, now let's switch on to the veggies. Let's talk about the cons of high yield savings accounts. And even though the higher interest rate is something that you do get with high yield savings accounts, it's also inconsistent and the APY can change anytime, especially when it comes to what the Federal Reserve is doing with the interest rates. For instance, when I first started banking with Marcus by Goldman Sachs, we had a 1.1% APY. Now it's about 4.5, 4.3, and that's increased because the Federal Reserve has been increasing rates, interest rates. So, but just as much as it's going up, it can also go down, right? So we have to be aware of this and just keep in mind that it's not going to be permanent and constant forever. So it's also not the best option for long-term wealth building. If you're looking more into like 5, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, then the stock market may give you a better return on your investment. Another con of high yield savings accounts, this is going to depend on the institution, is the limited withdrawals. Sometimes banks tell you, hey, you can only make up to 10 withdrawals, 5 withdrawals. Now, if you're just going to park your money in a certain institution and it's going to be an emergency fund, only for true emergencies, then you're not really concerned about this. A couple of other cons: no debit cards. If you want to just go into an ATM, it doesn't work like that. You have to transfer your money. And personally, that's why I like that same day transfer that my institution where I park my money offers. No brick and mortar locations. You can't just go and talk to a teller, solve your problems. You have to go and contact them, everything through the phone, online. And of course, you need an external account in order to put money in, take money out, or you can also do direct deposit. Now, here are some things to consider when it comes to opening a high yield savings account. And of course, number one, the elephant in the room is just the interest, right? But the highest available interest may not be enough. Some institutions they're kind of tricky. They trick you into thinking you're going to get this amazing rate, when in reality, that's just to pull you in. So you have to read the fine details and you have to be aware of what they're offering you, because they may offer you 5, 6, 7% for the first 3 months, or they may offer you 10% for the first week. So you have to be aware of what you're signing up for and read the fine print. So the interest, be careful with that. Also, the accessibility is also, think about, are you going to have limited withdrawals? How long does it take for your money to get to your checking account? How long does it take for you to transfer and access your money? When I used to bank with LI some time ago, the amount of time it took was 2 or 3 business days. But with Marcus, with my current institution, it's same day. Also, is the money insured? That's another good question that you got to ask yourself when you are considering opening a high yield savings account. Is it FDIC insured for a commercial bank, NCUA for a credit union? Because you don't want to be in a position where you are missing out on your money. If the bank goes sideways, then you want to make sure that you get your money back up to $250,000. A couple of months ago, the Silicon Valley Bank went under. So then if you were banking there, of course, you get anxious, you get stressed, like, where's my money? I will be freaking out, man, like 100,000, 50,000, 150,000, whatever it is, it's your savings, it's your hard-earned income. And so you got to make sure that you have some type of insurance. And believe it or not all banks are FDIC insured. So you got to make sure you pay attention to that. Now, also, when it comes to minimum deposits, ask yourself, hey, how much do you need to open an account? Do you need $10,000, $3,000? Now, if you're making a deposit of a significant amount, then most likely you are not going to be concerned with this. But if you just want to start with $50, $100, there's a lot of organizations out there that offer you no minimum deposit whatsoever, and you can get started. Also, another big one, guys, maintenance fees. You should not have any maintenance fees. You should not be dealing with that whatsoever. There's plenty of organizations out there that offer you no maintenance fees, no minimum deposit, and there's no reason why you should be paying for a high yield savings account, especially because it eats up on any of the interest that you may be earning of your money. Customer service. Some people overlook this, but I think it's very important. What are people's general experience? Is there anything sketchy that an organization, especially if it's not too well known, if it's not too popular, is there anything sketchy that this organization is doing to customers? Like, look at the reviews and also look at how recent those reviews are, because sometimes reviews are 5-6 years old and maybe the bank changed management, got bought out, but you gotta be careful with some sketchy organizations. You don't want to get scammed. So just make sure that what people are saying, and if generally people are saying, hey, it's good, like most people say it's okay, then most likely it is okay. Now, a couple of other things to consider when you opening a high yield savings account is, what do you want to accomplish with your goals? Are you thinking long term, short term? Are you saving for an emergency fund? And also the level of risk that you're willing to tolerate. If you're thinking, again, more long term and you're feeling a little risky, then maybe the stock market is going to be a better option for you. But hey, I'm just here simply giving you the options on what you got. Now, is a high yield savings account worth it for you? A couple of questions to ask yourself. Hey, what are your financial goals? Emergency funds, investing, nest egg? Are you saving for a home, for education, long term? When are you going to need the money? Is it less than 5 years? More than 5 years? You don't know. Now, many times what a lot of people do is they don't know whether or not they're going to open a high yield savings account, or they're going to put it in the market. They're indecisive. And meanwhile, they keep all their money in a checking account, regular savings account with no interest whatsoever. One of the biggest mistakes that you can make while you're thinking about it, at least let it earn some interest. I was watching somebody on Reddit the other day who said, oh yeah, my partner and I have had this much money. They had like $30,000 saved up, and they were thinking about whether to put it in a high yield savings account or a stock market or put it towards a business and whatever. And a year had gone by and they were still thinking about it. They didn't know what to do. So during the whole time, while you were trying to think about what you're going to do, your plans, and figure out what's next, then meanwhile, let the money at least get you some money in return through a high yield savings account. Let it keep up with inflation. Don't let it get eaten up by inflation, and don't let this purchasing power diminish. Also, how accessible do you need your money to be? Is it something that you're going to need, like an emergency? Like, do you going to need something like the same day? Are you okay with it taking a day or a couple of days for your money to arrive? How risky are you? Another question that you got to ask yourself. And it's now a good time to open a high yield savings account. That's really what it's going to come down to. And because of the interest rates from the Federal Reserve nowadays, right now, as of August 2023, August 11th, now it's a great time to seriously consider opening a high yield savings account. The interest rates are very high compared to how they have been over the last couple of years. Now, if you are interested in opening a high yield savings account, you want to know what I think about Marcus by Goldman Sachs, then you can click the link or you can watch this video right here, and I'll see you on the other side. Peace.